Welcome back to AP Psychology, Chapter 8, Part 4, and we're going to be talking about learning. And this, we left off where we were talking about applications of operant conditioning. Here, Skinner introduced the concept of teaching machines that shape learning in small steps and provide reinforcement for correct rewards. So all those little video games you played in early elementary school where you were learning math or English skills or things like that on the computer, those were probably inspired by Skinner. So what we're going to do is describe some of the ways to apply operant conditioning principles at school, in sports, at work, and at home. Operant principles have been applied in a variety of settings, for example, in schools, online, testing systems, and interactive student software. They embody the operant ideal of individualized shaping and immediate reinforcement. In sports, coaches build players' skills and self-confidence by rewarding small improvements. In the workplace, positive reinforcement for jobs well done has been boosted employee productivity. So reinforcement principles can enhance athletic principles, as when your coach takes you through the various steps of learning a particular skill, and how to hold your hips and place your feet and to eye the ball and that kind of thing. All of these are gradual steps in shaping your behavior to make you a better player. Reinforcers affect productivity. Many companies now allow their employees to share in the profits, to participate in company ownership. This tends to work well because it inspires the employees to do what's positive for the company. In the workplace, positive reinforcement for jobs well done has boosted employee productivity. At home, people use of energy has been decreased by altering the consequences of providing feedback. Parents can reward behaviors that are desirable and not those that are undesirable. To reach our personal goals, we can monitor and reinforce our own desired behaviors and cut back on incentives as behaviors become habitual. In children, reinforcing good behaviors increases the occurrences of these behaviors. So when your mom says, good job making your bed, you did a really nice job on that, it's rewarding you with that positive accolade to continue doing that, and eventually it becomes something that you do on a regular basis. Ignoring unwanted behavior decreases their occurrence, and you'll see this oftentimes with parents. So when they're in the grocery store, the kid will want a candy bar and he'll be throwing a temper tantrum, and the parent just completely ignores his behavior because that's one of the things that we need to do. What here we have is to identify major similarities and differences between classical and operant conditioning. Both classical and operant conditioning are forms of associative learning. They both involve acquisition, extinction, and spontaneous recovery, generalization, and discrimination. Both classical and operant conditioning are influenced by biological and cognitive predispositions. The two forms of learning differ in the important way. In classical conditioning, organisms associate different stimuli that they do not control and respond automatically. In operant conditioning, organisms associate their behaviors with their consequences. Learning by observation. What we're going to talk about here is that we're going to describe the process of observational learning and explain the importance of discovery of mirror neurons. Higher animals, especially humans, to learn through observing and imitating others. The monkey on the right imitates the monkey on the left, touching the pictures in a certain order to obtain the reward. And so he learns on how to get the rewards. We saw in the Brain Games video about mirror neurons, and we've talked about it before. Scientists have discovered these mirror neurons in brains of animals in humans that are active during observational learning. So as you can see from this chart, that where we see pain, this part of the brain all lights up, and when we watch somebody else who is in pain, we have empathy, which ignites many of the same parts of the brain. And so therefore, what we see oftentimes leads us to that. I maintain that this is part of the reason why people enjoy watching sports so much, because it's reflecting that they're mirror neurons as well. Among higher animals, especially humans, learning does not occur through direct experience alone. Observational learning also plays a part. The process of observing and imitating a specific behavior is often called modeling, and mirror neurons located in the brain's frontal lobes demonstrate neural basis for observational learning. Speaking of observational learning, we're going to describe Bandura's findings on what determines whether we will imitate a model. And learning by observation begins early in life. This is a 14-month-old child who imitates the adult on TV by pulling apart a toy. And so he sees the adult on TV pulling apart this toy, and he then does the same thing. Bandura found that we are likely to imitate actions that go unpunished. We tend to imitate models that we perceive as similar to us, successful, or admirable. Bandura's Bobo doll experiment indicated that individuals learn through imitating others who receive rewards and punishment. The Bobo doll experiments were the Bobo doll is an inflatable punching bag, and they would show children videos of people beating up these punching bags, and then the children would mimic the behaviors that they saw. Unfortunately, Bandura's studies show that antisocial models such as family, neighborhood, or TV may have an antisocial effect, and we found, and Bandura led much to this. His research led much to the idea that we needed to have rating systems, that certain types of TV programs shouldn't be on at certain times of the evening, and things like that. Positive observational learning takes place where watching grandma make a pie and you learn how to make a pie becomes an important part of the family structure. So pro-social models have pro-social effects, and people who show non-violent, helpful behaviors prompt similar behavior in others. This is why many of your youth groups do service projects and things like that to try to teach people to behave in these pro-social manner. Models are most effective when their actions and words are consistent. They are exposed to a hypocrite, children tend to imitate the hypocrisy by doing what the model did and saying what the model says. So the impact of our pro-social modeling has a great effect on children. Now what we're going to explain why correlations cannot prove that watching violent TV causes violent behavior, and we're going to cite some experimental evidence that helps demonstrate cause and effect. Correlational studies that link viewing violence and violent behavior do not indicate the direction of influence, though those who behave violently may enjoy watching violence on TV, or some third factor may cause observers both to behave violently and to prefer watching violent programs. To establish cause and effect, researchers have designed experiments in which some participants view violence and others do not. Later, given an opportunity to express violence, the people who viewed violence tend to be more aggressive and less sympathetic. In addition to imitating what they see, observers may become desensitized to brutality, whether on TV or in real life. So Gentile's study in 2004 shows that children in elementary school who are exposed to violent television videos and video games express increased aggression, while research shows that viewing media violence leads to increased expression of aggression. And so here children are often seen watching pro wrestling, and then they too will do many of the same kind of wrestling moves and causing injury to one another. Okay, well, thank you for listening to Chapter 8 and following along with me. I hope that you have found this experience useful. So there we go.